When what worked stops working, I point purpose-driven leaders to Prolific, the growth firm. They turn plans into results with full-service marketing and strategy, focused on outcomes, not vanity metrics. Head to prolifichq.com to learn more.
We are not motivated by money. We're motivated about building something great with people we love. And we're motivated to create, hopefully, beyond the brand, just a positive force in Indianapolis. For us, the 4-day work week this gives an extra day for people to be with their families. We told our team the reason we're doing this is for you to reclaim a little bit more of your life. One of our core values at Homefield that we have on the wall is it's just t-shirts. You're not saving the world. We have a high bar, we have high standards, but it's a really sad life if our life is about building a great t-shirt brand.
Hi, I'm Dave Neff, host of Talent Scout. On this show, we shine a light on Indiana's next generation of leaders who are making a difference in business, community, and civic life. These are real conversations about purpose, mentorship, and building a future that matters. Join me as we invest in leadership that lasts. Welcome back to another episode of the Talent Scout podcast. Today, I'm excited to have Connor Hitchcock on, the co-founder and CEO of Homefield Apparel. Connor, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Excited to be here. Excited that you have a podcast now that I can listen to.
I guess I'm a little late to the game, but it's 2025, and eventually we'll all be, just driving each other's cars and on each other's podcasts.
Yeah, right? That's instead of phone calls, we'll just listen to each other's podcasts
now. But no, thrilled to have you on. I've had the privilege of getting to know you the last few years, honestly, through our church, and then we actually worked together a little bit on my most recent venture with Boilermaker Alliance, and did a deal, a revenue share deal with Homefield. You were kind and generous and reached out shortly after I started in the role. And so I think for our audience today, part of the goal of Talent Scout is we want to hear your story. So maybe take us back, just your family of origin. I know you're the oldest of 5 kids, but just growing up, what was life like? Where were you born? And just kind of take us maybe up to as much time as you want to current day.
So I was born actually in Chicago. Well, as you mentioned, oldest of 5 kids and spanning 10 years. So my folks, they're from the Midwest. My dad's from Detroit area. My mom's from Carmel. And so lived in both those places too, in addition to Chicago. As I was growing up, my dad, as he kept advancing his career, we moved from Chicago area to Detroit area to Carmel, back to Detroit, back to Carmel. But I mean, I'm a Hoosier. Both my folks went to IU. I settled in Carmel in late elementary school, and this is where I'm from. So I went to IU. I moved to Broad Ripple right after college. So Hoosier through and through, despite not being born here. But yeah, oldest of 5, really fun family. We were one of those families that did the first initial all the same. So it's, it's a mouthful. And it's really fun now, especially as everybody's adult age, to have just 4 really close friends and pretty tight family. So that's beginnings there. But the way that I got into this space we are now, from growing up, I was always into sports, love sports. I am not as athletic as my siblings and cousins are. I'm the only male on one side of my family that didn't play a college sport. So I had to then, channel that into making a college sports brand, of course.
Yeah.
But I grew up loving sports, diehard IU fan above all else. And, as I went into college at IU, I was interested in apparel for whatever reason. I didn't really know what to study at IU, didn't have some big push to go into any field. So I thought, okay, I'm going to IU. I got into Kelly. Very easy thing just to go study business at IU, right? It's a pretty good degree. It's versatile. And as I was there, for whatever reason, I started to really get into consumer products and specifically apparel. And I was already a marketing major. And so when I was there, I started a side project that I called at the time Hoosier Proud, localized state of Indiana, Bloomington, Indianapolis gear that I was literally screen printing in my apartment in Bloomington. And then I would take door to door to different I literally was walking in Bloomington like miles, just door to door to different stores. And I'd drive up on the weekends back to my folks' place and go to Mass Ave, go to Broad Ripple Ave, do the same thing. And had 30 stores in Indiana carrying this side project.
Wow.
That I was doing. And just
what year of college was this when you started?
My sophomore year.
Where did that drive come from to want to, you know, create something at that age when so many of your peers are probably just focused on going to class, partying, you know, hanging out?
Yeah. You know, I still say this to this day. I'm actually not super stoked about business itself. I just like creating. And I have no artistic ability. So let me start there. That actually all with Homefield and what was then Who's Your Proud came from then girlfriend, now wife, and co-founder Krista. I had an idea, and I would text her, and she was at school at Miami of Ohio at the time. She's like, "Hey, could you design this?" And she would. But to your point, where that drive came from, I really enjoyed creating, and because I'm not artistic, but I enjoy that process. You know, I play music as well, and so I enjoy that creative side. It helps me tap into something that I maybe can't do, you know, artistically with a pen or designing on my computer. And so I enjoy taking some, you know, idea that's nothing and bringing it to life. And so that's where that came from. And I was fortunate growing up. At the same time, you know, my dad was pretty entrepreneurial and hard worker as well, and he certainly instilled the one phrase we all kind of, you know, as kids, you always just mock your parents, right? But he would always just say, "Finish the job," and that was really instilled in me from a very early age, being the oldest. And you just have, I mean, you have 4 kids, you understand. I'm sure you're giving Lincoln a ton of responsibility early on because that's just what you have to do. You have to pitch in as the oldest. And so I think that was innate from environments of being the oldest of 5 and then having parents who were really great and instilling a strong work ethic. So that kind of combined with this desire to create something. And so I didn't think this was going to be a job. I never thought it was going to be full time. I thought, this is fun. I enjoy doing it. Honestly, it helped pay for gas money to get to Oxford, Ohio. So I started doing that. And there's more there certainly in how it evolved into what became Homefield, but those were the origins of it.
Would you say that being part of a large family, you know, the oldest of 5, was that a key shaping force in sort of your upbringing, or could you highlight one or two other things that sort of molded sort of how your worldview and how you've approached life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being one of 5, there is, in the oldest, there is a mindset of it about the collective over the self. And that's not to say my parents certainly, you know, made sure each child was nurtured and seen, but at the same time, there's 7 of you in the household, you know, and so what you do, you are part of a large ecosystem, and there are contributions that help the collective. So I even think of when I was 10, my youngest sister was born, and eventually you kind of run out of rooms. And when my parents had my sister, you know, in a bassinet, eventually they moved her to a crib, and there was really no room for a crib. And so they put her in my closet. And so I was 11 years old, and I had nighttime responsibilities, you know, getting my sister down or getting her water in the middle of the night. Right. And
by that point, your parents were like, "Hey, this is you deal with this. We're tired of getting up in the middle of the night." And I know that feeling. So
they were 11 years old, right? Or they were 11 years into parenting. They had done their more than their fair share of all that stuff. But you know, I think what it did do is, my parents were wonderful instilling work ethic, but then just the environment of 5 kids, I really hones in a focus on the collective. I think it taught me a real importance also for finding time to be quiet as well. There's a lot of noise. There's something always going on, which is really fun. But then it also highlights the need for the alternative, which is, you know, some silence, solitude, all that. But
that's great. Well, let's pick back up. So you're at IU sophomore year. You start Who's Your Proud, this t-shirt printing business. You're hustling around, coming up to Indy. Where did Hoosier Proud end up?
Yeah.
How did that story did you sell it? Did you just decide to sunset it as you were graduating school? Like where'd it go?
So as I was graduating school, my final year down in Bloomington, it was 2015, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana played in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just, I'm not a reversible jacket fan. I am football, men's basketball, women's basketball, every sport at IU.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really into Indiana football when I was in college and still absolutely am. And so they go to the Pinstripe Bowl, and mind you, I'm 30 and they still have not won a bowl game in my life, as many people in the state like to remind me. And they go play Duke. They lose in double overtime on a field goal that looks like it's going to send a triple overtime, but it's called no good. It goes over the upright. And there's this commotion on IU Twitter about the kick being good all off season. It's just everybody just kept screaming the kick was good online, and it was kind of tongue in cheek because we're talking about 2 6-6 teams in the Pinstripe Bowl, but also people were kind of upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my final year of school, and where this ties into the Hoosier Proud story is I graduate in 2016 and I move to Broad Ripple and I start working for One Click down in Greenwood for the Stocklands. And as I'm doing my day job, selling reading glasses online, going into the subsequent football season, I decide to make a shirt that just says the kick was good. Dropped it on the first day of the football season, and it exploded online. This is the first time that social media had carried a shirt in this way, but it was also the first sports adjacent shirt I had made. And what I sold in an hour off of, a viral tweet was more than I'd sold in 2 years on the website. Right.
Wow.
And so that
and did you have a license with IU?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
Not yet. That got me in front of IU to get a license.
Guerrilla warfare marketing. Okay. Gotcha.
Exactly. It didn't require a license, but there's borderline. But it got me an intro to IU licensing. And so from there, got licensed with IU. And then, from there, Purdue, Ball State, ISU, all were like, yeah, sure.
Wow.
If you're licensed with IU, we'll toss you a license. And so in my basement in Broad Ripple at the Reserve, right off the Monon there, I was screen printing like 6 a.m. All these licensed shirts. And I was taking what I was learning at One Click on how to sell products on the internet, and I was applying that to what I was doing in my basement. And this is still Hoosier Proud because it's localized gear and then only Indiana colleges. But that's where it really started to increase. We're doing these 4 colleges because there's just a bigger market for collegiate apparel than there is localized apparel. And so, the conceit with the college stuff is what Homefield is now, what we call thoughtful collegiate apparel. It's not just throwing the Motion P on a shirt or the Butler Bulldog. It's taking different Purdue Petes throughout history. It's referencing games that matter to a school, phrases that matter, things that show that you understand the school. So many brands in the collegiate space, it's just templated. It's Indiana on the chest. It's Purdue on the same font Purdue, just swap out the colors, right? And so was doing that on the side. Krista was still in Ohio, and I was just texting her like, hey, can you design this? Can you design that? So I did that for a couple of years while working at One Click. Krista and I got married. She moves to Indy, and eventually it's doing well enough that I quit my job at One Click. Krista had been full-time already running her own photography business. She started to sunset that so we could pursue Homefield, and in August of 2018, we launched
So
Homefield.
Hoosier Proud became Homefield. Got it.
We effectively sunsetted it.
Okay.
And just started a whole new entity, but I mean, we just transferred the licenses over and began Homefield.
Real quick on One Click, I mean, that's a great local entrepreneurship story of Randy Stockland, Angie Stockland, a lot of the team there that has gone on to do great things. Maybe talk about, you're a young guy, 30 now. What was maybe something you did or a person that you met in your 20s that really served as a career accelerator for you?
Yeah, there's been a handful of them, and it's been for different periods and different times. I wouldn't say, a lot of people maybe have one or two really key mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's been different seasons. Maybe it's 6 months or a couple of years at a time, just different stages. And so at first it was Randy at One Click. In college, I interned at Target, which is a lot of IU kids go up and do that internship.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, it was great. Okay. Oh, beautiful in the summer. It was amazing. But I remember going out to intern at Target, and one of my professors, John Talbot, who formerly was a CMO at Fossil, and he runs the retail center at IU. Again, I was really interested in retail, consumer goods. As I'm going out, like 2 weeks before I go out to the internship, he goes, "You're going to hate it." I was like, "What?" Like, thanks for getting me excited, man.
Yeah.
He goes, "No, I mean, you're super entrepreneurial and it's a great company, but there's just
big corporate.
You're going to hate it." And he goes, "When you get back, you should talk to this small eyewear reading glasses company in Greenwood." I was like, "I don't want to go work in Greenwood. Like, I don't want to go sell reading glasses. I want to sell something cool."
Yeah.
And sure enough, I go to Minneapolis, and I hated the internship. I mean, just hated it. And the company was great, the people were great, but the work, I remember just thinking about the things I was interested in at that time, digital marketing. And just having, some coffees with people who work in digital marketing at Target. And they were like, "Yeah, it's a really small team and you have to jump through these 6 levels to the company." And then 10 years, like I would be getting to do what I want to do now at 30 if I had stayed at Target, And so I did hate big corporate and came back and had started talking to One Click, interviewed with them. And I remember talking to Randy in my interview process, and he was like, "We know you're really entrepreneurial. Come here, learn whatever you want to learn here.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready to go do your own thing, we'll send you out," which was just so refreshing and honest. And so they offered me a job at One Click, and it, I was thinking I'm from here, love here, but I thought I was going to go move to a big city, take some big job or whatever. And I said, I'll go take this reading glasses job in Greenwood.
Yeah. But John Talbot put that on your radar.
Yes,
you didn't
he
even
did.
know it existed.
Had no idea. They weren't at the Kelly Career Fair or whatever. There was just one job open, this digital marketing specialist role. And so interviewed, took the job, and they were true to their word. One Click was. I remember saying, I want to learn Google AdWords, and they had an agency for that. And they were like, "Okay, we'll pay $500 for you to take a course, and we're going to fire our agency." And I got to run it. And I was like, "I'm interested, in Amazon, just learning how that works." Like, "Great, go run the Amazon account." And so I got to learn a ton on their dollar. They were really generous with their time. They're really great about career development. Even knowing that I wanted to go do my own thing, they were just really generous for one, but then two, they understood, if we have somebody that comes through here and is really successful post One Click, more people are going to want to come here as talent acquisition too. And so Randy, just in terms of allowing me to test things, I was 21, and I was in charge of millions of dollars in spend and never done it before, was just really trusting and provided a great structure. And then when I was actually at One Click and doing Who's Your Proud on the side, he and I had a monthly mentorship coffee. And at one point he goes, do you ever do this full time? I was like, "Dang, I didn't realize I was that bad at my job." He goes, "No, seriously, And I was like, "No, I would never do this. This is t-shirts. I can't make a living off of this." And he goes, "No, you should go do some market research if you could do the collegiate, but you're doing collegiate full time." And so for 6 months, we'd meet and go over it. And then I was like, "Well, I'm 21. I have no money." And he goes, "Well, I'll teach you how to fundraise."
Yeah.
And so he taught me how to fundraise, how to build a pitch deck, was having the CFO, Eric Smith, at One Click review my financials as I was going out to pitch. Then he was making introductions to investors who did invest in Homefield. He invested in Homefield. And so really foundational for me, and was extremely generous with his time.
Kind of even, was the spark or gave you that nudge to even consider going out on your own.
I would have never done it because I had no idea how any of it works, right? I just would have been like, "Oh, well, I guess I have to make this side project big enough to where I could start to cash flow," right? I didn't realize I could go out and fundraise. I didn't know how to go fundraise. I didn't have the tools or the connections, and he shared in that with me. So
yeah, that's amazing. So I always like to say, I think your 20s are for learning, right? You learn what you don't want to be, or don't want to do, like your example at 20, 21 going up and interning with Target. And a lot of people take their entire 20s, but you kind of got to experience that in a pretty compressed window, at 21 and now at 30 have built, this thriving business, Homefield. Thanks for joining us here on Talent Scout. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, so stay tuned. Most organizations hit a point where growth stalls. The message blends in, the site stops converting, pipeline softens. That's when I tell leaders about Prolific, the growth firm for purpose-driven leaders. Through full-service marketing and strategy, they clarify the story, rebuild your go-to-market, and drive sales. Most importantly, Prolific holds itself accountable to the metrics that matter to you. If you're ready for your next growth stage, learn more about Prolific at prolifichq.com. Let's maybe bring folks up to speed. So that was, 2018 when you decided to go, you and Krista, now married, went all in together. Krista's your wife, co-founders of Homefield. And now you're up 7 years into this, nearly 200 college licenses. Is that right?
Correct.
Maybe enlighten folks, like how hard is it to get a college athletics license? Like with a university or an athletic department, what's that process like? Because that gets thrown out there, but as we know in higher ed, there tends to be some red tape. So
certainly some red tape. It is much harder if it's a Power 4 institution, specifically Big Ten, SEC, to get those licenses because, they're throwing off 5, 6, sometimes in the case of the higher echelon, $10 million a year in royalties. And so if you are some person off the street that says, hey, I think I can print a cool t-shirt, they're like, great, get in line behind the hundreds of people who've said that. And ultimately you're a risk to their brand, right? If you do something illicit with the mark or you commit fraud, they don't want their brand identity associated with that. And so unless you can provide something so unique that they don't have, if you provide incremental value to the pie, a Power 4 institution they're not going to give you a license because why would they? You're going to give them a few $100 or maybe a few $1,000s in royalties. That's a drop in the bucket. And so you have to go to the university and prove what that is. And for us, it was 2 parts, this thoughtful design we discussed, because everybody in the industry is, arch name and color. And then where we really broke through was the industries were still really far behind in direct to consumer. 85% of a $7 billion industry is done at bookstore or at sporting goods stores. And so nobody knows how to sell on the internet, particularly in 2018. And where we really got our break with that was 2020 because all the bookstores shut down. Right. And all these schools are looking for incremental revenue. So, schools that were maybe on the fence about giving us a shot, gave us a shot because of that need. And we had this viral marketing campaign that took off that summer. But going back to just licensing in general, so you don't just apply for a blanket license and you get to do whatever. There's this massive matrix that's 200 rows of product categories, from hard goods to using it in a video game like EA College Football 26 or t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever, headwear. And then there's distribution channels as well. And so you can get direct to consumer, which is the easier one to get, but then there's getting rights to sell to the bookstore, getting rights to sell to sporting goods, mass market like Walmart, department stores. I mean, this whole matrix. So you apply, you say, I want to make these products, I want to sell them here. And then even when you get that, you then have to have every single design you use approved by the university. And then you have to remit royalties monthly. So a lot of red tape, and it's a headache because, you do it for a pro league, you just do it with the league office, 1 or 2 points of contact. We have 1 or 2 points of contact at every school. Right. And so there is a lot of there's a huge administrative burden there, and it's not easy to get as well. But once we're in now, we've made it scalable and built our own process with it. It's a pretty nice moat to have, certainly.
So that's interesting. So you start the 2 of you in 2018. Now the team at Homefield is, I believe, over 40. Is that right?
How many? 40 of us.
40 of you. You've done something really intentional with your culture too. I think a couple years ago, you came out and said, we're going to have a 4-day work week. Right. And maybe talk to us a little bit about that decision that you and Krista made. How did you come to that decision? How's it been going a couple years in? Do you regret it, or is it's working out well?
We love it.
Okay.
I think in anything there are trade-offs, of course, right? Sometimes, it's a Friday. Like, dang, we have this opportunity. Which, look, if there's some big opportunity, we will say, hey, we're going to work this Friday on this, a couple people, but hey, on the backside, take them next Monday off or whatever, right? But the reason we did it, Chris is really great about this, more so than me. Sometimes I get lost in the sauce with it in the pursuit of building this brand. But the reason we build Homefield, ultimately, we are not motivated by Chris and myself. We are not motivated by money. We're motivated about building something great with people we love. And we're motivated to create, hopefully, beyond the brand, just a positive force in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And I think for us, the 4-day work week this gives an extra day for people to be with their families. Or, I have a kid now, and a lot of people at Homefield have kids. Or they keep them at daycare or whatever, and you get a day to yourself to rest more.
Yeah.
And we told our team the reason we're doing this is for you to reclaim a little bit more of your life. One of our core values at Homefield that we have on the wall is it's just t-shirts. You're not saving the world, right? We have a high bar. We have high standards. That we strive for excellence. We want to build something truly great and iconic as a brand. But it's a really sad life if our life is about building a great t-shirt brand. And so that for us was one way we could do that, is how do we make working here better? And then, very practically, it's a phenomenal retention tool. We don't lose people.
Yeah.
We do not lose people. We create a great culture that's fun to be in. We create a great product, right? Yeah. But also we have a lot of people who are really loyal to the brand for all those reasons. And then also, it is a great retention tool to only work 4 days. Now, we still work really hard. We do a lot. We did tell our team, we're not asking less output, right? We can be more efficient with our time.
Yeah.
And so initially it was 2 hours. We made it 1 hour now, but we block off an hour every day where no email, no Slack, no phone calls, no meetings. It is those projects where you have to just like focus.
It's the same hour for everybody?
Yes, okay. Same hour for everybody, so that you're not overlapping. Wow. And so
that's incredible.
And look, some of us, we work in college sports. College football games happen on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So in the fall, one of those 4 days is Saturday, or it's 5 days, and maybe in this time of year when things are a little dead, we're taking a couple more days off, right? And so it balances out on the whole. But I mean, to that point, we do Homefield not to build something to get us rich. We do Homefield because we are going to have a vocation, an occupation. This is the most fun one I can think of.
Yeah.
And it also, I really want to build something great here in this city. We take a lot of pride in that. And I want to be a positive force in Indianapolis. And I believe part of that is people resting more, people having more time with their loved ones.
Yeah.
And so,
or hobbies
hobbies, any of it, right?
Yeah.
That divorcing the idea that your worth from the idea that your worth is in what you do.
Yeah.
So
that's really great. Now your guys' headquarters is in Speedway, right? And I know you've branched out. While college athletics is the focus, you've got a pretty sweet jacket, I think, that came out around the Indy 500 this year.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the other lines. Are you doing professional sports, things like Indy 500 or IndyCar? What are some other lines that you're in?
Yeah. So we're very committed to college sports because we think you have to be known for something. And that is our home, and that is what we pride ourselves in. With college sports, there are big dead periods, right? Once the basketball tournaments end, there's baseball and softball, but I mean, you work in the space, it pales in comparison to 1, football, and then 2, basketball. And so we were like, what do we do during these months where there's not much going on, but also in a way that makes sense for a brand? And so our office, you can literally see the track from our office. We're like, okay, step 1, it's May. Let's make a lot of Indy 500 gear. And so we started doing that last year. And it's been awesome. The folks at the IMS are just phenomenal to work with. And so we started just selling on our website last year, had a lot of success with it, making really thoughtful apparel for the IMS. We're branded ourselves as the world's closest apparel brand to the Speedway, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is true.
Has the added benefit of being true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then this year we had a location inside the track for the whole month of May where we were selling, and we sell to Legends, who runs in venue at the IMS. It was actually announced yesterday that they broke a record for the most apparel sales ever. One of those pieces in the Sports Business Journal article was Padua Award wearing that jacket that you mentioned. He came off the track one day and bought our jacket. So that's been a lot of fun to lean into our own community. You know, I see every week somebody's wearing a piece of Homefield just on the street, but for whatever reason, it means a lot more to me. I'm just like, whatever, they're wearing an IU or Notre Dame or Purdue thing.
Yeah.
But when I see somebody wearing our IMS stuff, that's just more meaningful to me.
Yeah.
So we do that. And then we've extended, we did for a couple years, a local licensee partnership with the Colts. The NFL puts a 2-year cap on that, but we're here in Indy. So if we're going to do pro sports, it's only going to be Indianapolis related. Okay. We do a lot with the Pacers and Fever in venue. We did a ton of stuff with the Fever. The Pacers sports entertainment is phenomenal to work with. I mean, truly. I work with so many sports organizations, like hundreds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're universities, but they're sports organizations.
Yeah.
The ones based here, I'm not just saying this because I'm on the IBJ podcast. They're world class compared to so many of the ones I work with. And so the Colts, Pacers Sports and Entertainment, IMS, all phenomenal to work with. So we've done in-venue stuff. We just did a bunch of stuff with the Pacers for the playoff push and had some sick champions designs. I wish that would again see the light of day. But those are fun, off-speed pitches in the off-season that we get to do that are smart brand extensions because we're here in Indy. Part of our story nationally, it's not just that we're this brand that makes thoughtful collegiate apparel. It's that we're a bunch of Indiana fans. That's part of our brand voice on social media that we get in front of the fact that we are IU fans making this. And so it's a nice extension of our brand for sure.
That's amazing. Now, I know March Madness is always a big time for Homefield, and there's always, hopefully there continues to be a breakout Cinderella or two every year. You guys kind of have to be ahead of the ball. Like I recall a couple years ago when St. Peter's had their run, you had just gotten their license, I think. Talk about sort of the spike that you see when there is some surprise team or school that people aren't super familiar with, and maybe they've got, what is it, UC Irvine, the Banana Slugs, some of these creative, the Peacocks of St. Peter's. Just, what that's like when, I'm sure it's a bit of a just a hurry and like, oh wow, like we got to get in front of this, we got to get it out via email, social, and just like, what's that whole experience like when you have a hot team that's got a very limited window of time to sort of capitalize on?
Yeah, that's one of those times where the 4-day work week really breaks down. And so we try to prepare for as many outcomes as possible during a normal season. College football is nice because there's a rhythm to it. Every Saturday, you reset the clock and you can see into the future a bit, because if you're 7-0 in the middle of the season, okay, now we can eliminate the teams who aren't going to be in postseason contention because they're 3-4. March Madness is the exact opposite of that. And so you can't prepare. If you did prepare, you'd waste 99% of your work, right? And so what we do is we're ready. We identify, a certain set of outcomes. And if it's a school we don't have a license for, we then go talk to them before the tournament and say, hey, it's a bunch of if statements. If this happens, we are going to do this, and it's going to be fast.
Can you get those schools to act pretty quickly?
Yes, okay. Now because of
your brand,
our reputation, and brand, we can. 5 years ago, it would have been very difficult.
Yeah.
The Purdue Boilermakers have been very generous in providing many of those opportunities for us these last few years. Good and bad for Purdue. So, Fairleigh Dickinson and St. Peter's, we had the St. Peter's license after they beat the Kentucky Wildcats, actually. And we moved pretty quickly there. Peacock mascot, 15 seed, right?
15 over a 2,
Over a 2, that was pretty. We sold a lot of those Peacock shirts, but then when they beat Purdue, we got second bite of the apple for that, certainly. Fairleigh Dickinson was a matter of, I was at my friend Alex and Abby Parker, co-founder of Elate, at their house watching the game, and I just thought we were going to have like a nice evening. And then when Fairleigh Dickinson won, I had to use Alex's laptop to log onto our work Slack and get going on work at like whatever time of the night it was. And within an hour, we had secured the Fairleigh Dickinson license, which was awesome, right? But so I love sports, and but at the same time, it just means more work, right? So we're constantly just
and you have some super fans, some Homefield super fans that I believe have bought a shirt of every school that you have a license for. Is that true?
There's one. Shout out Alex Carstens. He lives in Illinois.
Okay,
and he is a Michigan grad. And one day I go back into the warehouse and I hear our fulfillment manager go, "Oh my goodness, he's going alphabetical." And he had bought Eastern Michigan, Evansville, Ferris State, Fairfield, Florida State. And he was just buying 5 at a time weekly.
Wow.
And so we've contacted him. We've done a bunch of content with him. But there are others who maybe hear me talk about Alex Carstens. I'm trying to get their name out there. There are multiple people who've bought over 100 schools from us.
Wow.
There are people who just like the aesthetics of college sports.
Yeah.
And we'll buy the fun small school. So we'll do subscriptions. Like last summer, we did a subscription where it was the UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs. It was the Evergreen State Gooey Ducks, the Delta State Fighting Okra. 500, 600 people will buy a subscription to get those shirts every single week.
Wow.
And so there's I went to IU, I went to Purdue. I'm only going to buy IU Purdue stuff. But then there's also this undercurrent of people who just like our aesthetic and are committed to what we make. And so that's really fun to do. And we lean into that. Most consumer brands, the model is you put a bunch of money in meta ads.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impersonal and it's a math equation.
Yeah.
Because of royalties, we can't exactly do that. You have a little bit less margin to play with. And so what we do is we go all over the country, 30, 40 events a year.
Yeah.
Go around at a bar. You wear Homefield, you drink on Homefield is the rule. But we create tailgates in all these different towns. To try to lean into that community. And so that's where we get those super fans who buy. I mean, there's hundreds of people who bought 50 plus times from Homefield.
Wow.
Which is fun.
Well, maybe last question on Homefield. You guys have been very successful, not just leveraging social media as a strategy to grow Homefield, but specifically Twitter X, right?
Yes.
Maybe talk about sort of how that has paid off for you guys. Because, so much, I used to work at Exact Target and we'd talk, social media is great for brand awareness, but people don't always convert through social, right? Email was always the channel. And I still think oftentimes is the highest conversion channel, right? When you want to drive sales. But talk about X and sort of some of the success you guys have seen.
Yes, it has certainly diminished over the last 3 years, quite significantly. You could get into a whole nother podcast as to why. But initially, right, when you're marketing a product, Homefield's marketing works, I should start by saying, because we are our target demographic and we understand them innately because we are diehard college sports fans who, in the years when we started 2018 and now 2025, where do these people hang out? They listen to podcasts about their favorite teams.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, especially 7 years ago, you're getting all your sports information on Twitter by following not just the official team accounts, but the person with 1,200 followers who is only tweeting about Purdue basketball.
The message board warrior. So
Yes, exactly. And so our approach was one of, we can't really spend that much money on ads because we don't have much money to start. So let's be really scrappy. And so we would go find micro communities online on Twitter, people who were tweeting about the Troy Trojans. I know multiple Twitter handles of people who only tweet about the Troy Trojans. I would go find them, and they may have 800 followers, but all 800 of their followers are Troy Trojans fans.
Yeah.
And so I go find this person, I DM them and say, "Hey, we're going to launch this Troy collection. Can I send you a couple pieces?" I wouldn't even ask for anything. I just wanted their feedback. And people are pretty generous when you give them free stuff, and they'd give us a shout out. And so now, instead of being this brand that feels like impersonal, trying to sell you something, because we have these advocates who lead these micro communities, the followers trust us, and we gain that respect. It's like being introduced into a friend group. So we've sent thousands, tens of thousands of free shirts to people in that fashion. And then our own voice on social, on Twitter in particular is where it started, was I just tweeted. I almost treated it like a personal sports Twitter account for a while, and I don't run it anymore. We brought in a real professional, Whitney, who was who ran social media at SB Nation for a long time.
Wow.
But back when SB Nation was good, and you know, I would just tweet. I would live tweet Indiana football games, and people knew us as, which was kind of a funny thing to be known for nationally. Not the Indiana basketball account, but the Indiana football account, right?
But I love that scrappiness and just go do it and reach out, initiate, take action. I mean, there's a great lesson in there. Well, this has been great. I also wanted to. I think I saw IU is bringing back the Bison. Is that right?
Are,
so I'm sure you've got some stuff up your sleeve when that launches. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we were the first brand to bring the Bison back to Apparel back in 2018. So that was a lot of fun to see it kind of come full circle. I mean, not to say we were the ones that brought it back. That was the whole athletic department decision. But now we have product ready to go for that first football game when they unveiled the costumed mascot. It's been a big initiative that they have been working on for years now. So I'm excited to see.
Now, will that just be for football, or will that be also at basketball? All sports.
All
wow.
sports.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is wild. You know, they're modernizing men's basketball a bit.
So Purdue Pete and the IU Bison will have some battles, it sounds like.
Yeah, that would actually be great. I would love to see that happen.
Well, this has been great. And, you know, I think a couple questions as we land the plane just outside of Homefield. You know, you talk about just Homefield's and your and Krista's personal passion for Central Indiana, this community. Yeah. I know you're young father, you've got a son, right? And you're obviously building an important company here in Central Indiana. Talk to us about maybe any nonprofits or organizations that you're involved with beyond Homefield currently.
Yeah. So it's one we've actually served alongside together at Poorhouse. Yeah. For those who don't know, POUR, not POOR, Poorhouse, but it started over a decade ago by this incredible woman, Andrea. And what Poorhouse aims to do is help move people with unstable housing situations into stable housing situations. And so it works with all sorts of local government agencies to help identify housing and identify the most vulnerable populations. And so where we serve alongside Chris and I and many of our friends have for a long time, on a monthly basis, it's just the part of the move-in team. So there's a bunch of donated furniture. And so once a month, we'll go and fill up a couple box trucks, help move people into their new housing, which has been, understanding. It's given a lot of empathy and understanding for us of just really the most vulnerable people in Indianapolis. Yeah. And just understanding their stories and how they got to where they are, and being a small part of their journey to more stability. So that's been, I have a lot of love in my heart for Poorhouse. And then on a more recreational level for the last 7 years, I've coached basketball at Purdue Polytechnic. That's right. North and Broad Ripple with Clay, James, and Jeremy, people you all know. And that's a blast. A lot of fun. We still get in there and practice and hoop with the kids, although I get more sore with each passing year. So that's great. Purdue Poly, Poorhouse, two great organizations in our city. I guess last question, Connor. I mean, there's been a ton of great insights you've shared just from your story today, but what would be one of your top pieces of advice for someone out there listening in their 20s or 30s? As it relates to just sort of their outlook on their career and relationships and life. Yeah. It was one I said earlier, one of Homefield's core values, and it was one that Ryan Vessler, who is the co-founder and CEO of Homage, who would maybe be considered a competitor to us, so I'm pretty close with him. They're much further along than we are as a brand, but I remember as 2020 and I was freaking out about something with our t-shirt production or whatever, and he literally said the words, "It's just t-shirts." There are much bigger problems in this world, more important issues than whatever I am building. Of course, it's really important. It's important to deliver an excellent experience. It's important, we have investors. I would like them to not lose their money. In fact, I'd like them to make a lot of money on Homefield, right? But it is just t-shirts, right? And so I think a lot of people become consumed in what they're building, and it is their identity, and it is everything they care about. And there's a price to pay for that. Like I work very hard, and there has been, to a degree, if you're going to start something, there's an emotional price, and there's a relational price, because I'm not going to be able as free as my friends who work a normal 9 to 5. But at the same time, really not losing your life in the pursuit of creating something, right? So it's very hard to do, because an endeavor like this does require a lot of sacrifice, to your point. But so whatever it is, it's just whatever it is. For me, it's just t-shirts, right? It's just a piece of B2B SaaS, right? At the end of the day, right? We're not saving the world. We're not curing cancer. And putting that perspective, because I've been very grateful to have a wonderful community of friends since I graduated, even with starting a business where I've had community and deep friendship that has not been robbed by the pursuit of Homefield. And I'm grateful that people like Ryan have told me it's just t-shirts.
Yeah. Well, that's great wisdom to finish on. And I just want to say, Connor, I've personally gotten to know you and Krista, and you guys are two of the most, humble leaders despite all your success. I know it's authentic and genuine what you guys are building. And you were one of the first people, I think, that even reached out to me after I got the Boilermaker Alliance role and sent me some sweet Purdue Pete bomber jacket, I think, and some swag, which I really appreciated. And we did a little rev share deal that, would kick some money into the collective off of Homefield sales. So I'm excited to see kind of what the future holds for both you and Krista and for Homefield. And thanks for being a guest on Talent Scout.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dave. Excited to see what other guests you have on. So
awesome.